Välkomna tillbaka till ABG Sundal Collier Investor Days. Viktor Kryger heter jag är fastighetsanalytiker här på ABG. Och nu tänkte jag lämna över till 20 minuters presentation av Trianon. Med efterföljande Q&A, 5 minuters frågestund. Då har vi Mari-Louise och Nina på Trianon.
Mari-Louise och Nina.
Tack.
Då kör vi.
My name is Nina Gilljam. I'm head of communications and IR at Trianon.
And my name is Mari-Louise Hedbys and I'm the CFO and Deputy CEO of Trianon.
Good morning. We will take you through a brief introduction to Trianon with a few words on our performance the last quarter as well as the past year's performance, some insights in our strategy and our sustainable work. Next page. Trianon's business concept. Trianon is a real estate company that owns, manages, develops and builds properties in Malmo and its surrounding municipalities. Through closeness and a strong customer orientation, we strive to contribute to a sustainable urban development. Trianon was acquired already in 2006 by our CEO, Olof Andersson. And at that time, Trianon consisted of only a few properties in Skåne. Back then, the property value was 200 million SEK, and today the property value is 9.4 billion SEK. We are 67 employees, and since 2017 we are listed on Nasdaq First North Premier Growth Markets. And we are now planning for our next big step to enter Nasdaq Stockholm main market. Next page. Malmo is growing year by year, and Malmo is Trianon's main market. The Öresund region has more than 4 million inhabitants, Malmo 340,000. It's a well-functioning infrastructure here with Öresund Bridge, for example. Almost half of the population is younger than 35 years. And Malmo has 182 of 189 nationalities. It's a university city with a high level of education, and it's an ongoing housing shortage. There were actually 80,000 persons in the housing queue at Boplats Syd, southern Sweden's municipal housing agency. And Malmo is continuing to grow. The city is actually planning to become 500,000 inhabitants in 2047. Next page. Trianon today is operating with its main focus in Malmo. However, this year we acquired our first rental properties in Skurup and Burlöv. That's municipalities outside but very near to Malmo. In our property portfolio, we have 75 residential properties and community service, and only 25 retail and offices. Our goal is to reach 80% residential and community service, and we are actually on our way. As you can see on the map, the properties are mainly located in the south, with Hermodsdal and Lindängen, and then in the city center and Limham, Slottsstaden and Aktier. The property value, as I said before, is 9.4 billion SEK. We have 84 properties, almost 4,000 apartments, and we finished 144 new constructed apartments this year. And we have actually 700 possible constructions in front of us during 1 year now. Next page.
Some significant events during last quarter, the third quarter. We raised some capital during the quarter. We made a new issue of 1 million shares and increased the equity with 115 million before transaction costs. We also made a tap issue of our sustainable hybrid bond of 100 million, and that we did in connection with one of our acquisitions that we did this year in September. And the framework is now fully utilized of 500 million. And these two transactions gives us the possibility to continue to expand, both with our project portfolio, where we can start 700 apartments next year, and also to combine both green and social investments in our areas. We also made an agreement with a company to sell 50% of a project that we have in Limham of a property value of 75 million SEK. We are going to build a tenant-owned apartments, approximately 150 tenant-owned apartments in Malmo's best location in Limham. Next page. We also inaugurated a new solar cell park together with E.ON in Skåne, and from this park we are going to buy solar-produced electricity, and that is one step closer to convert to renewable and sustainable source for energy production. And we made a commitment here to buy electricity for 10 years. And we have continued our renting with our net letting, and that is positive despite having a COVID quarter. And our net letting amounted to almost 3 million this quarter, and accumulated this year 7 million. And in the third quarter, we had really a strong demand for residential properties in this region as well. And this led to a market yield shift in the residential segment. And therefore, we recorded changes in the value of investment properties to a positive of 217 million. But the yield is still booked at 4.5% in our property portfolio. Next page, please. All of our figures this quarter and also last quarter, we had very good figures on all levels actually. So we delivered a growth in rental income with 21%, and the net operating income increased with more than 21%, 27% this quarter, and also the profit from property management increased with 26%. And this is very positive because then we know that we have a good cost control in the organization as well. So the profit from property management amounted to 68 million. The net profit for the period was 230 million, and this equals 5.93 Swedish krona per share. Next page, please. As Nina told you, we have a property value now of 9.4 billion Swedish crowns, and the increase with 27% is mostly due to the acquisition that we're going to tell you a little bit about later, and also the value changes in the residential properties. And we have a net asset value of 3.6 billion, and that means per share 95.62 if we're excluding the hybrid capital that is booked as equity. We had a loan to value ratio of 55.4% and an equity asset ratio just below 35%. Next page, please. We have an average loan maturity that is just below 1 year. And we actually, during the spring, we made an offer to buy back one of our senior unsecured bond in the market of 350 million. And we had bank financing in place to meet the unsecured bond. We received only in the offer to buy back 22 million, so we actually are now keeping it to maturity, but we're glad that we were able to have bank financing in place during the second quarter. That was to meet the maturity of our bond in February next year. And the average interest rate of 2.2% is going to be lower after February next year, when we're going to replace this unsecured bond with bank financing instead. Next page. Our financial targets, we met all of our financial targets, both for 2019 and 2020 in the third quarter, except for the last one, where we are still working with increasing the share of residential and community services properties in our portfolio. But we set these goals 1.5 years ago, that we're going to increase the profit from property management with more than 12%. And after the third quarter, we increased it with 26%. Our return on equity, we would like to have more than 12%. And in the third quarter, it was amounted to 29%. Our loan to value ratio, we have a target to be below 60%, and there we have a margin. So we were at 55% both in 2019, and we have the same ratio now after the third quarter. And the interest coverage ratio, we're also exceeding our goal. We would like to be above 1.5 times, and we are now the double at 3. So the only target that we're still working with is the share of residential and community service property, where we have 75%. But everything in our strategy is continuing to expand by either buying or building residential properties. So we're working on that ratio. Next page, please. And this slide is showing the current earnings capacity. We are increasing the rental value all the time, so we have a rental value now of 644 million. As you can see, we still have discounts and vacancies that are mainly related to our Aktier property of 34 million. And we have the possibility here, if we are successful with filling our vacancies, to increase the current earnings capacity per share from 6.23 to 7.14. So this is a main focus area for us. Next page, please.
In 2019, Trianon issued the first sustainable hybrid bond in the Nordic market. We issued 400 million SEK to be used within our sustainable bond framework with both social and environmental investments. Among the social objectives are creating jobs and internships, create affordable rental apartments, create safe environments where people want to live and stay. It's an all-over objective of increasing well-being in socio-economically weak areas. Environmental objectives are such as in order to reduce the overall climate footprint, we're improving energy efficiencies and invests in renewable energy, such as solar cells, as we told you before. And all activities are connected to the UN's SDGs, with the focus, as you can see here. Next page.
Our segments, our residential segment, are valued to a little bit above 6 billion, and it's got a yield of 4.3%. We have almost 4,000 apartments, and 13% of them are newly built. But we have a great potential here. We have 65% of our apartments that has the possibility to renovate. And our goal is now to renovate about 200 apartments per year. And our business model, it's quite simple. We have an average investment per apartment of 300,000 Swedish crowns. And after the renovation, it's valuated to 500,000 per apartment. So an increase of value of 200,000. And as you can see, if we have 65% potential, we have about 2,500 apartments still to renovate. Next page. Our retail segment is valued to 1.8 billion and with a yield of 5.5%. Here you can see on the occupancy rate that we have an occupancy rate of 88%. So we have some vacancies here, and they're mostly related to Aktier. But we are not so worried about this segment anyway, because we have a large share of tenants that are grocery stores, pharmacies, we have Systembolaget, and we also have community service here. We have in entré also entertainment, we have sports centers, and of course restaurants has been struggling now during this year, but we have a large share of other tenants in the retail segment. And we also have Rosengård Centrum is one of our retail properties, and also we have a lot of properties in Limham that are fully letted and are performing very well. Next page. Our community service properties, here we have a property value of about 870 million, and they're booked to a yield of 4.8%. And here we have tenants as City of Malmo, we have libraries, we have the immigration service, we have healthcare, and this is a segment where we actually want to increase our share. So next page. And the smallest of our segments is offices, and we're sitting in front of a picture actually of one of our nicest office buildings in Malmo. And we haven't bought any offices since 2010, and we will not do so unless it's possible to convert them to apartments. But we have a very high occupancy rate here, and very central located properties close to the central station. Next page. I think we'll do next page as well, because I wanted to tell you a little bit. We have been very active in the market during the first 9 months. We have bought 600 apartments for about 1 billion Swedish crowns so far this year. And they're located in Malmo, in central Malmo, Limham. And we also made our first acquisition outside of Malmo, where we bought 300 apartments in Skurup from the Skurup municipality. And we also made one acquisition in Burlöv, the first one in Burlöv. These locations are very close to Malmo and on commuting distance. Next page.
Next page. The product portfolio is one of our most important focus to grow. We will construct 700 apartments within 12 months. Next page. We are proud to build our second library in Malmö. Next time it will be the Rosengård Library, which is the most visited district library in Malmö. In the pipeline, there's also a plan to build apartments and community service on a surface of 100,000 square meters in Rosengård Centrum. Next page. Further with apartments, we have the total 700 apartments, and quite centrally located, we have apartments to build in Hyllie, Sorgenfri and Seger Park. And these we will build with investment support from the state in order to create apartments with affordable rents. Next page. Outside Malmö, Burlöv municipality. Here we received allocation of land from Burlöv to build a new rental house with community service, with sport activities. There are 150 apartments here. It's very close to Malmö, with only 5 minutes away by train. Next page. We will reconstruct parts of the entré house in Eastern Malmö to reduce vacancies. One of the properties with a surface of 10,000 square meters will focus on tenants in the community service. Next page. The silos of Limham, it's a well-known landmark. This is property we earlier told you about, where we have an agreement to build 150 apartments with a spectacular view on Öresund Bridge. Next page. And our focus areas ahead. We are going to continue to reduce our vacancies. We have already signed 30 agreements during this year, and that's more than last year. And our net letting is positive, and this is a main focus area for us to continue.
We have a very active strategy regarding acquisitions. We evaluate everything on the market in our focus areas.
Mari-Louise and Nina, I'm sorry, I just have to cut you off there.
Yeah, okay.
But thank you and congratulations to continuously strong development of your property portfolio and business. And I think you've repeatedly shown that you've met your goals and really developed a stable property portfolio. This is in Malmo though, so now you've actually expanded outside to Burlöv and Skurup that you were touching on. With that, could you walk us through your acquisition strategy and what you're mostly looking at when acquiring new objects?
Yes, as we said, we are very active. We have a very active acquisition strategy. We focus on residential properties and evaluate everything that is for sale on the market. And of course, it's good if the municipalities are attractive, they are growing, with locations near a train station, for example.
Okay, so train station, attractive locations.
Yeah.
Good. And can you say anything about the average rents in Skurup as well as in Burlöv?
Of course, when you're buying outside of Malmo, they're a little bit lower than the average rent that we have in Malmo. In Skurup, for example, we have a good potential in that portfolio to renovate. So there are renovation possibilities in Skurup, but they are lower than in Malmo in average.
So just above 1,000 krona square meter?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And I mean, you've developed really strongly on your share has performed well in accordance to the good results of the company. Could you list 3 factors that you think talk in favor of Trianon going forward the next year?
Yes, I think that we didn't really touch this project portfolio more than briefly, but I think that that's really important for us because we have the possibility to start 700 apartments during next year, 2021. And that's we get a better return if we're building and then we receive about 5% than buying and with the yields that are so low in the Malmo market, that are between maybe 2.5% to 3.5%. So I think that creating long-term value, we're going to continue to do to build.
And do you see any objects now outside of Malmo that could be taken in the coming year?
Yes, we had a positive decision in Svedala that maybe you saw that the municipality there wants to sell 200 apartments plus building rights to Trianon. So that is something that we're going to continue to work with next year.
All right. Mari-Louise Hedbys and Nina Gilljam, tack så mycket för att ni har lyssnat in. Thank you for the audience for listening into the presentation as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Regards from Malmo.